So not long ago I created this building right behind me. And this is one of those buildings that I'm incredibly proud of. And luckily it seems that a lot of you guys actually like this build as well. So much that you guys want to know how to do the inside of the building. So today we are going to look at the interior of this building. So hello, welcome back to a new video. My name is Ross and today we are going to check out this building again. And we are actually going to look at the interior because a lot of people are actually wondering what to do with the inside. A lot of people love the outside but are not that great at interior building. And I can clarify that also I am not as great with interiors as well. I'm not really good with interiors. But we did it before with another building, so why not with this one? And because a lot of people struggle, I thought, you know what, let's just try to find out a way to make this building look great from the inside as well. And just give you some tips of how we can do this building and make the interior of it. So this is the interior right now. It's really like, there is not really anything going on. We have just a really big space. But of course, we clearly can see that there are 3 levels, maybe 4 if you count that one as well. It's very dark, I know, but yeah. So yeah, a lot of people are wondering like, what do I have to do with this building? Because it's a weird shape, of course, and there are a lot of windows. But how do I create walls and how do I create floors and what can I do with this building? And honestly, I don't know either. But that's the fun thing. Let's just try to find out what we can do with this interior of this building. So just like I did with this building, and by the way, this building is also on my channel. So if you're interested in this building, you can check it out on my channel. So if this is the first video you watch, go check it out because it is an actual block by block tutorial. So as I said, also with this building, I did the interior and I made a few videos of it. And I just like explained how you can actually use this room and well, make some kind of interior. And you don't have to exactly make the same thing, but just to give you an idea of what you can do with an interior. And that's exactly what we are going to do in the other building. So I will try to make this video as informative as possible. That means that I will give you a list of tips that you can follow for your own buildings and own design. And I will explain the tips while I'm actually building the interiors. So relax and let's go. So now step 1 of the building process. And the first thing that I always do is create the layers of the building. In other words, I find out where I want the layers to be. So this building has about 2 layers. So the bottom floor and then 2 upper layers. And if you count the tower, it has a 3rd layer. In that way, you know exactly how high the ceiling will be for each layer and how much room you have to put any kind of detail into your build. And we immediately go to step 2, which is when you have found out where you want the layers to be, you create the floors. And what I normally do with big buildings is I make the floors into a 2-block thick floor. In that way you have a ceiling color and you have the next floor color. If you only use 1 block layer, then the ceiling color down beneath will be the same color as the floor you're standing on. So in that way, because this building has a lot of room, you can easily make it 2 blocks thick. Now while making the floor, you also have to think about where you want an open space to be if your house can actually have an open space. For example, we have a glass dome in this building, so I wanted to keep a little bit of daylight in this building and create some kind of way to look up and see all the other layers. So to explain it a little bit better, we are in the replay mod. You can see me flying around, and as you can see, I'm busy building. So let's pause it And let me explain what I mean with making the layers. So this building is actually a very weird building. It has a really weird shape because it has a tower in this corner, and it also has some weird walls that are sticking out a little bit. It isn't a flat wall. So what's very important with buildings like this that especially are very big is to actually use the rooms very carefully. You have to think a little bit forward. And what I mean with that is, for example, we have a glass dome. And it's pretty sad if this floor would just be completely closed off and you cannot see the glass dome only on this floor. So in that way, I chose to make this part open because of these two windows that we have here and because of the glass dome. Now automatically they created a place for the stair, which is the next step. And that is step 3, making the stair or finding out a place to put the stairs down. So with this building, as I said, we have a nice open space and I wanted to make sure that you can see the stair very well. So instead of hiding it somewhere in the corner, I actually placed it right here in the opening so that you can see that we have a nice spiral staircase upwards. And to make sure that everything is connected, I made glass bridges that go from these little plateaus to basically the big room, because otherwise you cannot get to all the big floors. So it's very important to make sure that if you have a big building, to make some open spaces, to give it some more room and also make it look bigger, as well as making a place for a stair so that it looks like you can actually go up and down the layers of your building. So we are back in the replay mod, and as you can see we have now a nice stair which is not completely done. I just tried to change some blocks to see what fits well and what doesn't fit, as well as that you can see we have a nice open space and all the layers are accessible with these glass bridges. Now we are going straight to the fourth step, and the fourth step is to make the walls. Now in the time lapse you saw me making the walls already, and as you can see we have the granite wall, which is the outer wall, and then I put another layer inside which you can color to whatever you want to color your walls. And in my case I just kept it white. So with these old buildings it's nice to keep the inside a little bit in the same style, so you can see me trying things out, like for example a little bit of light, but the detail will be later. This is just a little bit of giving me a kind of feeling if what I'm doing is right, basically. If you have a lot of white, for example a white ceiling and a white wall, it's nice to border it off with some wood on the bottom, which is just a nice little trick you could use in your buildings. Now also this building is very brick-like from the outside. Even though you cannot really see any bricks from the outside, it still looks like it because of the granite. And that's why I chose to also put some kind of detail work with a little bit of small pillars or walls of the brick blocks. That just gives a little bit of extra detail and brings it back to a little bit of a old state, because everything over here, like the spiral staircase and the glass walkways, are very modern. But these little details, for example the brick walls, bring it back to a much older date. Now I kept the gray borders around the window. You don't have to, but it looks better from the outside, so I kept them inside. We will put curtains on them so you don't really see the gray concrete. Also a very good tip, work in layers, meaning that first do this layer, then go up and do this layer, and then go up and do this layer. As you can see, I've tried to finish the bottom layer to give myself a good feeling of the building, and then I go up a layer and then I can choose again what I want to do up here. And as you can see, I didn't choose anything yet, but in that way you can actually make the building the way you want your building to be, and you can choose what you want on every layer. So next to the walls, the floors and the ceilings are also very important to design. And let's start with the floor. So in this case I chose to do the white floor again, this time using the just normal quartz blocks, so you get a grid pattern, and also using the red carpet, or actually just red terracotta I think. That looks like a carpet and it just gives this like old feeling. I took this idea or inspiration from my Violet Evergarden building, so if you haven't seen that building yet, then go check it out. It's a really cool building from an anime, and yeah, it's in the same style, so it's really cool. So with the floors we did this, and yeah, it looks great. And the great thing is you don't have to do this floor design up here on this layer or on the next layer, because as you can see we have actually space over here to do a completely different floor design. For example, over here we use the, I think, light gray terracotta or something, or light gray concrete, so you can choose whatever kind of floor you want. And that's the cool thing about a layer that exists out of 2 blocks. And of course the ceiling is also important, and because this is like one of these old buildings, this is a really cool style which really fits this building. Normally you will just have a normal straight not designed roof or ceiling. And in this case, because it's a pretty old building, we can actually do this with slabs. So this is part slab and part full blocks. And then you can create kind of patterns without actually damaging the floor up above, which is really cool. So even that can be changed, and that makes it look much, much better. So anyway, let's keep going to the next step. Now the next step is something that isn't something that I have done in this building yet, because this building in my case doesn't really need to. But in many builds, and I think probably your build, you will have to do this. And this step is step 5, which is making rooms. Now making rooms in buildings is actually pretty easy. So you have designed your walls, you have designed your ceiling, and you have designed your floor. And basically whatever you do is just take the same design of your walls and just create walls wherever you want and create rooms. Don't make it too cramped, make sure you can go to every room and that it still looks great. That's all the tips I can give you on making rooms. It's not that hard, but it's nice to do it after you have designed the floor, the ceiling and the walls. And again, do this layer by layer, and depending on the purpose of your building, that decides what kind of rooms you need. And in my case, we are making an art gallery, and in that case I don't really need any rooms. But it is just the next step you should do after you have designed the floors and the walls and the ceilings. So let's keep going to the next step. The last step is step 6, which is decoration, which is pretty obvious. So when you have done one of your layers of your building, you will have to decorate it. And decoration can be done in many ways. For example, giving your windows some curtains, or maybe changing some blocks. Maybe you still didn't like a type of block and you changed it out for something else. And for example, lighting is very important, and making everything look more lively. And again, depending on what your building will be, is how you will decorate your building. And there we go. By doing these steps, you can design your building the way you want to design your building. Interior is always hard to do. That's why I always give the tip to make buildings big enough, and that you can make sure that you can design your walls and floors and ceilings in every way you want. Because if you are relying on the outside of your building, which should also be the inside, then your building will pretty much look ugly from the inside. This building luckily had the chance to actually make the inside different, For example, I can make walls white, but I also can choose to make the walls green or yellow or blue or whatever you want to do. And again, work in layers. By doing this, you can see that this layer is now completely done, the first one. And when you have found your way and found your rhythm and you found what you want to do with this layer, you can go up and you can go to the next one and make that one look pretty. Those are some handy steps of how you can make literally any interior in any building. Now this is just a good example, of course, so if you want to do something different with this building, you are completely free to do so, because everybody is unique and everybody should design their buildings the way they want. And this is maybe not something you want, maybe you want to do something different. But that's completely up to you. So I made it night and now you can see how important lighting is. So I made sure that everywhere is enough lighting so that you can actually see something. And that counts for upstairs as well, even though upstairs is not really anything done yet. And up here as well, just a few lights, but really nothing much. But that's what I said, working in layers. So make this one first, then go up and then design the next one and then design the next one. So don't do everything at once, because if you do so, you probably have to break some blocks and redesign everything, and you don't want to do that. But yeah, it looks awesome in the night. It really looks cool. It gives this really cool shine for some reason. Of course, it's the shader pack that I use. But all these stars and everything, and you can look up through this cool glass dome that we have, and all these big windows, it makes it look so big. It really looks awesome. I'm very happy with how this turned out. Even though this is not really your typical base design, it's just a really cool thing to do and to do something different. For example, an art gallery, which most Minecrafters probably won't make. So a few of you are probably wondering what it will look like without shaders. There you go. So this is it without shaders, and it looks a lot worse, but yeah, that's just because of the shader. I'm very used to the shader, so walking around like this is very weird. But still, for some reason, it's not all too bad. And of course, especially the outside as well. The outside is still very cool even without shaders. So yeah, I'm still very happy with the design of this building. So a quick summary of what the steps are to make an interior of any Minecraft build. So first of all, know what your building will be. What kind of design or what kind of building will you make? Is it a train station? Is it an office building? Or is it some kind of art gallery? Or is it just a nice base for all your farms? Who knows, that's completely up to you. But it's very important to know what your build will be used for. And then the next step is work out all the layers. Find out where you want your layers to be and how high the ceilings will be. It's just a simple way to see where your layers will be and how many layers your building will have. And as soon as you know how many layers you want, you go to the next step, which is creating all the floors. So basically make a layer or a floor and then carve out places where you don't want any floor to be. For example, over here you have a nice big open ceiling, but you don't have to do that. You can also just completely close it off. That's up to you. But it's great to have already all the ceilings, so you know how big you can actually build within every layer. Then if you've done that, you go to the next step, which is creating the stair and finding out where the stair will be. So in my case, that's over here in the open space, but you can also choose to make the stair very hidden, or maybe in the tower part behind me or something. That's also completely up to you. But it's very important that you know where your stair will be, so you can actually go up every layer, because if you cannot go up every layer, then what are you doing? You need a stair. After that, you are going to the next step, which is making the walls, making the floors, and making the design of the ceiling. I would always start with the walls because that's very easy to do. In my case, you can just completely make all the walls the way you want. Next to that, you have designed your walls, also design your floors. Maybe you want a nice white floor like I have, or maybe you want a wooden floor or whatever you like. Just design the floor you want. And it also counts for the ceiling. And when you have done that, you can create some more walls to create some rooms. So this build, which is also on my channel, is maybe a good example, because over here, as you can see, we have some walls that separates rooms. So we have a nice living room over here and a kitchen over there. And on this side we have a different room with a piano and some kind of dinner table over there. So in that way you can create walls and also create any kind of room. So after you have designed the walls, the ceilings and the floors, you can create any kind of room if you want so. And then the last step, of course, is decorating. And decorating is literally the last thing you do, which is the crème de la crème, like the cherry on top of a nice cake. And decorating is, for example, lighting, of maybe some kind of cool art. For example, maybe some art on the walls, or in this case candles, or even the banners, which should be curtains, for example, is a nice way. Lighting is very important, and just all kinds of small detailed things, like for example the plants in the corners and stuff like that. So these are the steps that you follow to create your own interior for any build you make in Minecraft. So I hope you learned something today, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So hopefully this can help you out making your own interiors of your own buildings. And well, if it did, then let me know, because I really like to know if I actually help you guys out. So once again, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. If this is the first video you watch, then go check out my channel, because for example, this building over here is a tutorial building, block by block tutorial, so you can create this building yourself and many others as well. So world download is also out there. The world download isn't out with the interior yet, so that's the only thing. There is a world download which has this building in it, but not the interior that you just saw, so just keep that in mind. Anyway, go check out the description in that case. Anyway, thank you all for all the amazing support. Because of you guys, I can create these kind of videos. So thank you all. Go consider to subscribe if you haven't. And I will see you guys in the next video.